Have you ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die? And can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. And I think if we are able to give ourselves that time, we can fill our cup back up, and then life sort of creates through us and for us instead of us in this constant sort of hamster wheel world. Yeah, so I'm always trying to plug in.
Well, it's great to have you on. And how have you been recently? Have you been busier with the pandemic? Have more people come to see you as a channeler with some of the issues that they're going through right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of channelers are finding this at the moment, is that people are sort of looking for some other guidance because everything is so confusing. Whatever's going on in the world is obviously epic, and no one really knows what's happening or what the outcome's going to be. And of course, when we connect with spirit, we can get helpful, loving, supportive guidance on whatever's going on.
Yeah, because it's not just, those who have, suffered with the loss of a loved one, mental health issues right now, or even financial issues. It's probably everything, isn't it, that they're coming to you for?
Everything. It's everything and everyone. And I think everyone's had their quarantine medicine. Even if they haven't had the COVID, everyone's gone in, some kind of initiation into themselves and learned something about themselves. And that's the global reset, the first global reset. There's going to be many.
Yep. Well, I should just say as well that you're in the UK.
I'm in England, yeah.
And I do miss the UK. I do miss it, and I look forward to going back to visit people at some point in the not too distant future. But you guys have had some, you've had some good weather just recently as well, which is great.
We've had some really good weather, Kevin. But you live in Kansas, you've got really good weather. But here, I think everyone's really relieved to be outside and being human again.
One thing I will just say is that do you feel that the times that we're in right now, that this is sort of, sent you down on a more personal exploration of your gifts as well, and that your gifts maybe have enhanced in this time?
Yeah. That's it. My gift is getting stronger, and I think the channelers are finding this generally, psychics as well. There is a clarity coming through the unified field, the goddess field is what I call it, but there is a clarity, the energy is getting stronger as we're becoming more fifth dimensional. So the consciousness around the earth, around the cosmos is supporting us to awaken. So yeah, I've had to let go of a lot of my own patterns and beliefs and small stories that were still kind of holding me down, and just open to the truth of what I know and offer that to the world. Yeah. I channel the goddess in many faces, the divine feminine, So she comes through with ancestral guidance, land-based guidance, plants, animals, our interconnectedness, the way we weave together, the way we can heal, the way we can come back together as a species, essentially, with wisdom of our star families, our soul families, our multidimensional gifts, our soul gifts. And essentially, her message is listen to your guidance, that we, the human, is designed to have intuitive, personal soul guidance. And our culture just didn't teach us that. It's been so rational and scientific, and the school-based education system, it's so empirical. And her message is essentially listen to your own guidance as well.
Yes, isn't that so powerful, listening to that inner voice, that intuition. But I guess, you must have had to listen to your intuition to get to where you've got to with the gift that you've developed so far.
I had some traumatic experiences when I was younger that I was called to heal. But there was one in particular which really struck me, where I was 21 years old and I was in London, young, naive. It started raining. I went to hail a cab, and unfortunately, it was a very unfortunate cab to get into. I survived, I escaped, but something occurred to me as I put my hand on the door handle. I knew I would be in danger. I knew, and I ignored it. I opened the door, I got in the taxi, I looked at the driver's eyes, and I thought, I'm going to die. I just knew. And I survived. I was fine. I was attacked, but wasn't raped. But I survived. And the massive consequence for that in my life, it was huge. I can feel it now. It was just so huge. And there was something I just kept getting, which was, I knew. I was guided the second before I got in the car, don't get in this taxi. And I think, if anything, I could say, especially to women, is to listen to their guidance. We all know that gut feeling, that instinct when something is wrong, but we go down the wrong paths. And they're learning. We could all say, they're learning. It's great, the lessons and all that. But I think profoundly, humans are designed to have their inner compass that points north and directs them and guides them to exactly what they need, and abundantly so. But we don't listen.
Yeah, and when you look back at that event, do you think there was something logically as well that wasn't quite right, as well as intuitively that wasn't quite right when you grabbed that handle?
I have thought about it, but I mean, it just looked so normal. It's just a normal cab with the taxi thing on the top, and so there's nothing logical I could have.
Well, maybe what I'm saying when I'm talking about the logical side is that, when you got this cab, was this the safest area to get a cab? Did you not take that into account, or?
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, I'd caught taxis there many times. I was coming out from work, so it just seemed normal to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, we ignore the outward physical behavior of someone. Do you know what I mean? Even if our intuition is screaming
Yes.
at us, we still can sometimes ignore, that the behavior is just not correct, but we don't listen to either.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that would be a logical, and still we would ignore that often, many of us,
Do you think this is just the way that we are? Do you know what I mean?
we
That,
ignore it.
we ignore the red flags sometimes, and
Yeah.
that we just sometimes need to go down the path that we're going down, unbeknown to us, because it's that sort of dark day of what we need to experience.
Yeah. We do. We absolutely do. And of course, when science does the tests on intuition, they say it's wrong, it's not accurate. But my sense is that's because we haven't been taught to listen to it our whole life. And generally, we don't really encourage our children to listen to their own soul, their own heart, their own, what do they want to do? Who do they want to be? It's more sort of veering them into systems that already exist. And we're still doing it. And the world's collapsing and we're still doing it.
Do you think that this particular collapse, this particular one that we're going through right now, or have been going through, there's bigger reasons behind all this?
Oh, I do. I'm so excited. Yeah. And obviously, we've got to lose a lot of our old ways for that to happen. So there's a lot of loss. I don't deny that. There's a lot of grief and discomfort in that for all of us in different ways. But essentially, yeah, like when I'm channeling, I'm shown these new ways coming through that already exist on the planet. They're just quite small and scattered, and they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And this new earth is coming through, and we're aligning to that. So anything that isn't that is going to kind of shake and crack and be revealed and healed.
Are you at peace now with that event that happened to you? You can see it from a deeper perspective of why it happened and what you learned from it, and that if any future event like that happened as well, that obviously you deal with it differently, but everything's there are no mistakes, just experiences, and everything happens for a reason.
When I'm feeling really enlightened, I can just feel totally at peace with everything. When I'm triggered, yeah, it's still hard to accept some of the things that have happened in life and things I've done in life as well, mistakes I've made. But I ultimately feel this, like, just the gift of soul growth. I really understand and have compassion for whether we're here to play out the victim or the predator. Prey or predator, which everyone is on some level in this sort of dog eat dog kind of society. It's horrible. But they're all kind of parts that we play. So even when I'm looking at like Donald Trump or someone, I'm looking at where he is in me. Where am I kind of that selfish or tyrannical or gluttonous or whatever I project onto him, that he's being. I'm like, well, what is it in me? And I feel that that's the shift that's coming, is that it's a consciousness shift inside ourselves. It's not so much what we're doing to the outside world. It's a consciousness shift inside us.
So this is a difficult one. So are we saying that, it's try not to judge those who maybe have hurt us or hurt others, which is terribly difficult to do, and try to see the bigger lesson for whoever's experiencing that particular lesson, and for those that it affects as well. But it's all about the learning, which is it is difficult to see it that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's hard not to judge someone who abuses or murders or the horrific side. So I don't spiritually bypass that. Action
Completely.
needs no way. However, I feel our system is archaic, just locking people up and putting them in dungeons when these people have been profoundly unparented. They have possibly been abused themselves highly. They need help, like the most help. And I remember reading about this tribe in Africa where it's so the other way around. It was a matrilineal tribe, for example, where one person, if they started crying, the whole village would go to them and sit with them, put down what they're doing and sit with them, because they saw the tears of this person as all their tears. And those murderers, abusers, rapists are all our tears. They are symptoms of such a sick world, such a sick society where we're all unconscious as a society. So what's the consequence of that? It's an abuse of power. Extreme.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the times that we live in right now, we can soon, even stop loving ourselves, can't we? And, actually turn on ourselves and become quite abusive sometimes, with just what we're all going through.
I think we've all put on a few pounds in quarantine. Yeah. but also the truth is being revealed in relationships. I think I've got a great friend who's an astrologer, and she's like, no, this is the end of the old paradigm relationships and the beginning of the new ones, and how people really want to live and relate, and things need to be addressed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that when we don't listen to our intuition, or when we are listening to our intuition and we think it's taking us down the wrong path, or it feels like it's taking us down the wrong path, that is the right path, and it's what you're supposed to be going through, and it eventually does lead you exactly to where you need to be. And even if it feels dark sometimes, the path you're going down, it is what it is, and it will come out to be a glorious outcome in the end. I can assure you, most people of that, from what I'm going through as well.
It is what it is. I mean, I do love the idea of fully being able to create my reality, law of attraction, but I think because we're not enlightened as a species yet, it's very hard to do that. So whilst I don't think it's my fault that I had that experience, I do feel, I've had to look at my own, where do I feel like prey? Where do I feel like a victim? Where do I feel not sovereign and in my power and my authority in life? And I've had to really look at that. So that's the gift that blessed taxi driver gave me 25 years ago. I've done a lot of forgiveness work outwardly towards him. I can't imagine how awful his life must have been to get to that stage where you see a young girl and you want to do that. Like, it's so psychopathic. It's so sad. It's very sad.
And I'm really sorry that you had to experience that, but looking at it from this perspective as well, for others, how would life change if people just came more from the intuition?
I think the world would stop as it is. I think most people would not go to work tomorrow, but they would find a different work and a purpose for sure. But my sense is that for most people, they're not living their soul's purpose, and they're coping. They're coping with reality, trying to survive in an economic, political system that's really broken. And they're good people. Most people are really good people, but they haven't been taught to listen, and they don't have the time. Yeah, that's it. You're so right, because then the individual is going against the grain. If they're working in Tesco's or whatever it is in America, sorry, Walmart, and they hate it, and they're in a hierarchical system, and they're treated like shit by the bosses, and they don't earn enough money, and they're so stressed. It's like they're ill, they're not well. How can they be happy? Some people, but
well, if I've got to go get a part-time job at some store in America right now, I am absolutely happy to do that. Mainly because I've got other things in the background which are my purpose, and I'm not trying to I'm at peace with that. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes we have to go do things that we don't want to do. Do you know what I mean? So I think some people want to escape their present moment, and when you want to escape it, that is when it can turn to be a very painful experience.
that's it. I mean, one of my favorite jobs ever was being a waitress. It because of the people and the connections and the fun and the buzz, you can bring complete presence to those types of jobs and have a great boss. Absolutely. But yeah, I think every human comes with soul gifts that they're here to express, that create a society that's more in balance and in harmony. They're human gifts. They're not gifts you can get with a qualification. They're gifts of the heart.
What do you think then that these times represent? Is it to be happier with ourselves and others? Is it to transform our thinking? Because what happens inside our brain is so powerful. Our minds are so powerful. What's your take on that?
To be nice to each other. I know it's not always possible. We're not enlightened yet, but I feel that's what we're designed to be. And I think it's existed on the planet before. And we're remembering, we're coming back to that unification or love, presence.
And we're not saying there that we're going to be devoid of issues. Depending where we live, there may be political issues, there may be earthquakes, there may be fires.
Yeah.
I may, run out of toilet paper, and whatever it is, right? That whatever issues that we've got to meet those issues.
I think if we're all living from a sort of broken script in our heads of who we are, I'm not enough, or I hate that person, or they hate me, or this like broken record that goes on, and people, I think, take it to the grave. And, the more we can connect with our heart consciousness through meditation, yoga, dance, whatever we're doing, coming into simplicity, as you know, those stories start to dissolve. And we realize they're kind of scripts we've been playing out, they need looking at, but they're not who we are. But those scripts are the things that kill another person. They are so disempowered. But when we come into our sovereignty, that's all I see. I don't know what the world's going to look like, but that we'll be sovereign, that we'll be so profoundly conscious and aware of ourselves and our impact in the world and with each other.
And embracing that in the system that we've got currently right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It can only happen in this reality. It's got to come through. The way I see it is the plants and the flowers, they've got to grow through the concrete. The true spirit's got to come up through the concrete and show us another way, another world. Yeah.
Very true. And what triggers you the most right now? What sets you off, would you say?
Yeah, that would be, honestly, I was talking to my mum. It would be the fear that I couldn't get to my family, that something is coming that's, so changing and so quick in the way we're going to have to change as a society, that I won't be near my family. So yeah, very human fear. They're not that far away, 60 miles or something, but just, yeah, that's my fear, that what I love, I won't be able to reach. Because I feel huge shifts are about to happen, and that the COVID is just the first warmer-upper.
Yeah, that's the general gist that I got years ago when I used to do some channeling, was that COVID was just the start of a transformation. It was just the beginning. And how have your family taken the gift that you've got?
Good question. They are some of my best clients. I had the most amazing mum. My mum has supported me since I was a little girl to listen. Yeah, so she never shut me down, ever. She always said, "Oh, really?" When I saw a fairy in the garden at 7, "Oh, really?" She didn't shut it down. So even though I didn't understand what my gift was culturally, and I knew it was weird, yeah, she didn't shut me down. So by the time I was 20, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to go to spiritualist church and in Notting Hill in London and listen to the mediums." And mum came with me. So it was always there. And my sisters are fabulous too. We're all doing growth work in life and work with consciousness. And yeah, we're really close, really close.
Well, that is beautiful. And I'm so glad that you've got that support as well. Now, just going back to 97, you had some sort of UFO ET encounter. Just tell us about that.
I did, and some of your listeners might have seen them too. They were in Sheffield, above the Peak District. Three unidentified ships moving in wild, zigzag, bright neon lights, patterns and ways, sort of manifesting here, disappearing, like coming through the quantum field and then appearing over here. They were absolutely mind-blowing. And as we were watching them for a long time. Apparently the police lines got jammed that night, so many people phoned the police back in the old days with the old phones. And because I was at university, and yeah, so I was really young, and yeah, and then I had a little ball in my bedroom on the floor, a little glitter ball for some reason, and it started moving across the room, making these what I now know to be sacred geometry patterns across the room. So it would move, it would stop, and then it would. So, you know, it was a really cosmic experience, but it changed my life completely, because then as well, like I don't know, I guess people didn't really speak about things like that. I'd seen E.T., you know, Steven Spielberg, but it was amazing. And I feel I got something. I feel they gave me something.
Yeah, and to try to explain that to anyone, you know, it's just, you know, it's beyond your understanding. It's beyond anyone else's understanding to understand what you're talking about, because they've not had that experience.
Oh, yeah. You can read a dusty newspaper about it for sure. Yeah. Thousands reported it.
And you just can't justify that to anyone. I mean, that was your personal experience. And for anyone else that was observing that as well, you know, it was their personal experience. But, you know, what does any of it mean? It's so difficult.
Yeah. You're so right. And it just sounds like gobbledygook, because you're like, it was this, it was a, you know, but it's so, your heart just, it's like, wow, it's just total awe, because you know it's not this world. It's not possible. But last year, yeah, thanks. I saw a pink light ship in broad daylight out on the moors above a tour. Yeah, and it felt very organic. It was very conscious. It was very different to the ones in '97, and it whooshed, if that's even the word, through the sky, and a hole opened in the sky, and it went through the hole. I mean, it was just. I could barely speak for about 2 weeks after seeing that. So yeah, they're here, of course. I mean, something that really occurred to me when I saw the light ship, I called it the pink light ship, it's so beautiful, was just that looking round then at our cars, Volvos and Vauxhalls driving along, chugging out this stuff out the exhaust, everything was so 3D and so crap, you know, compared to seeing this thing like vanish through a hole in the sky, where you're like, oh my God, you know, how many millions of years ahead of us are they? I don't know. But
And when you think about it as well, you know, humanity is making massive leaps in space travel right now, and new ways to get people into space. And you know, when you're in that infiniteness of the forever, the idea that the universe goes on forever and is infinite. I mean, that's just incredible.
I know, isn't it? That keeps me awake at night. I love it. I'm like, where are we?
Yes, it's just absolutely incredible, isn't it? The infiniteness of everything. And, you know, you had some incredible experiences as well. Back in the early 2000s, you had an out-of-body experience.
Thank you. Yeah, I was coming out of a surgery in hospital, and I suddenly found myself very high above the hospital. I'd left my body. I was in this field of awareness, that unified field. That's what I call the unified field of ecstasy. It was just ecstasy, just total bliss. And I looked down at my body. I could see through the roof. I could hear the thoughts in the surgeons' heads. I could feel the heartbeat in the birds on the tree. And I was everything. I was just part of everything. And I looked down at my body and realized it wasn't mine. and it might as well have been, a tree trunk. It was just nothing. So there was no hurt or upset at all that I'd gone. And I was like, oh, I don't know whether I should go back. Should I go back? I don't know. I quite like it up here. But I didn't have, I've heard people say they get met by all these people, and I didn't at all. So I think there's different layers to the dimensions and different realities. And I was just in one that was just pure ecstasy and pure love. And yeah, it was extraordinary. And I just knew that everything was one. Only word can describe it. And that the little body I'd been inhabiting kind of separated me from everything. It gave me the illusion I was separate from everything.
And what has that done for even relationships, like to yourself and others? Are you more cautious about who you give your energy to?
I think what it did to me for a long time was I sort of went down the transcendent route of like, I don't want to be a human route. I've got to leave. I've got to find that love. I've got to find that love, because when I landed back in my body, whatever the right word is for that, when I arrived back in my body, it was agony. And I woke up in the surgery thing and I was in agony. And, so I think for a long time, I was doing the Vipassana meditations and sitting in total stillness. And I was trying to find that level of love. But, I'm a human. I'm here to experience, the full feminine range of feelings and love in this life, my senses now. But your question, I do have more of a bird's eye view with compassion. I think that was gifted to me in that moment, and to have compassion and definitely deeper empathy and feeling. But yeah, I'm no saint, no angel. I'm a human. I get triggered like we all get triggered.
So if you do get triggered, then how do you bring yourself back to that better part of yourself?
So I love to dance, that really feminine, just moving my belly and getting into my body, and also connecting with the natural world through meditation, swimming in the sea, and just coming back to just the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
So you do then whatever helps you get back to that better part of yourself then, yeah.
Several times a day. Yeah.
Do you find then that some personal relationships that you have still trigger you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the personal relationships are the most, I feel that's where the gold of our transmutation of our stuff is, basically.
Oh, really?
I do. I feel like I could go and sit on a mountaintop and chase that nirvana, that love, and just be alone and be like, it sounds really easy to me to do that. I think what's really hard is being with your mum, with your sisters, with your lover, with your mates, and going through the stuff of life and finding all those icky places inside ourselves that we don't like to look at, we don't want to look at, but with really deep, loving containers of relationships, we can, and we can heal. Yeah, but together. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I too agree with you there that I feel that personal relationships are the quickest way to grow and make us grow, and to face our issues.
And without us learning that, our children are never going to be okay. Like, we have to get this. We as adults, we have to get that we're responsible for these kids and this generation coming, and they're just copying our BS. So we can model something new to them, and hopefully they won't have to copy us.
Yeah, you're so right there. Having kids in a relationship as well, it's so difficult, isn't it? You try to do your best, and it's so, sometimes you don't, and I've not always done as well, and it's a great responsibility when you do become aware that you don't always get it right, do you?
I don't think there's a bigger enlightenment then I'm not a mother. I have a goddaughter who's amazing. She's 19, Amelie. Hello, Amelie. But yeah, I adore her. But you know, she's not even my birth child, and I go through all the triggers and the learnings
And I guess that that little girl is in your life for a reason, and she's giving you that experience because, you know, your life was always and is different, isn't it?
always going to be a little bit different. And I think, honestly, I have so much respect for mothers and fathers who I feel it's the ultimate path to awakening is being a parent. I the responsibility and the love and just that it's forever and ongoing. And I just have so much respect for conscious parents, you know, really doing their best.
Yes, and that conscious parenting is so very important. But I think for some people, maybe you know, even including the child, they come into a family situation, maybe a
Mhm.
life they've chosen that isn't always going to be that way, and they, you know, they're not able to be conscious parents, and it's very difficult.
Yeah. And if you think that the model of our society is so based on that sort of man, woman, marriage, raise kids from the Christian world, it wasn't like that in the Celts or the Native American Indians or the Aboriginals or in Australia, you know, the kids would just be raised by the pack. So there's an enormous pressure on parents.
Yeah, and I think as well that if the parents or parent is not living their truth, is not doing something that they meant to be doing on, you know, within purpose, then that unhappiness can spread to everyone.
Yeah, you're right. And Disney's done an amazing job of selling us the story of like, oh, the man on the prince on the horse, and here he comes, and Cinderella, and oh, isn't life perfect when well, huge journey. Yeah, it's
But moving on with your story as well, that you had an experience in 2007 where
yes.
you were told that your work was going to be of great importance.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. I was in a real dark night of the soul. I was healing the traumas of the past, and I didn't think I could do it. And I was starting to wonder if I needed to leave the planet. I was like, I don't know if I have the strength to do this. The pain, the anxiety was really strong inside of me. And I went to bed one night and I just prayed. I just said, whatever is out there, whatever this place is, I need some help. I need to know something. And I went into this really deep sleep. And I had a dream, you know, that wasn't a dream. It's one of those absolutely profound things. I was floating in the cosmos, and these huge seven lights were in the cosmos, tall lights sort of flickering up and down. And they were booming with this love and laughter. And I was sort of floating there going, can I come home, please? I'm done with the earth. I can't do it. It's too hard. And they were like, oh, that's hilarious. They thought it was hilarious. They're like, no, if you get through this, your soul gifts are going to emerge. So I had no idea what they were talking about at the time, but now I kind of do.
And that gift of yours is always going to change and evolve as you change and evolved. And before you brought the godness energy into your work, how did you get into channeling?
Well, I think it chose me. I would just receive information, knowledge for people. But the more I grounded in my body through temple dance and meditation and connecting with nature, I started to embody that knowledge. So it started coming through in a really different way. So instead of sort of seeing a ghost or something out there, I started to receive and intuit knowledge. So I'd sit in the forest and I'd intuit from the trees. Or I'd be with a friend and I'd just intuit something for them and it would be accurate. Yeah, so in that way, I'm an oracle. Yeah, I became an oracle. But I think channeling chose me. I think it was always there, always there.
That's interesting. So, had you been influenced by any channeling material that sparked your interest?
I loved the mediums when I was younger. They blew my absolute noggin. I don't know if you've been to them, but I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I would go to these audiences in Notting Hill, and this total stranger would stand at the front and bring through details about people's loved ones on the other side. Nothing felt more amazing to me, watching the healing that brought others. And then over the years, well, I suppose when YouTube started getting a bit popular, I obviously found Abraham Hicks. I love her. I love her so much. And Bashar, they were great. They still are great. Sorry, they are still great. Yeah, but I try and keep my antenna as clean as possible. So
Yes, and when you bring that energy through, I guess you've had to make sure that, you're not in the way and that you're continuously working on, making that energy sort of transfer cleaner and cleaner.
Yes, getting cleaner and cleaner. I would say I'm mostly a conscious channeler, so I'm fully present and I'm watching the visions emerge here in my third eye, and then I'm delivering that. And then sometimes I go into a trance when beings come through and want to say something, but I never know when that is. But I can decide whether I want to do it, and sometimes I can't. Like if they come through and they're speaking Swahili, I'm like, I haven't got can't do it. But mostly it's just divine feminine guidance. Yeah.
And is that normally like a 1 hour channel session or longer that you do?
1 hour channel sessions, that's right. But people often book 3 so that they can go a little deeper and spread that out over a few weeks. But 1 hour, as you know, you can really receive a lot from a channel session. I mean, we go through all time, space, dimensions, and realities. So much learning can come.
And you can ask most questions in that session. But do you think that people, when they come see you for a reading, that they have set questions, but actually it goes into a different direction which they are not wanting to face, and it's sort of deeper into that direction?
That's it. And I always ask a client to set an intention at the beginning of the session, and then if the intention isn't met in the first half with what I'm bringing through, then we'll focus in with 3 questions and see what wants to come through. But often their questions change by the end because they've gotten something juicy. It's very healing, very liberating.
And when you connect then, it's just a very straightforward process for you to bring that through?
A few minutes. Yeah, I mean, some days she's just right here all around me. Depends how aligned I'm feeling. But generally with a client, I would just drop them in a meditation for 5 minutes at the beginning, so we're both in tune, and then she comes. But yeah, I mean, I can hear her now. Yeah.
Yes, she's there now, isn't she? Yeah, absolutely. And has she gone by any other names?
The mother, she's saying the mother, the dark mother, the infinite mother.
And has she gone through others by different names, but it's the same energy?
Always, always, eternally moving through, coming through others. Yes.
Well, I know that energy is there right now. I can feel it, and I'm going to allow you to connect instantly because that's how you work, and we shall continue our conversation.
Thank you, beloved, that you do not need eyes to see, and you are entering a time of freeing the she. Finding an embodiment, a path to surrender, to drop and sweeten through life's armor. I want to welcome you home into a deeper state of bliss, to remember your pathway, your soul's essence. I'm coming back. Do you want me to go in? I can go in.
Yes, please continue. I mean, this is a great example of just, conscious channeling. So, yeah.
Yeah, we're there. Ooh. Hmm. Hmm. So, birds on a wing, she guides that there is an intelligence moving through your sphere, through your atmosphere, like birds on a wing. And some of you are catching that flight, some of you are catching that dream boat into the night. You are feeling, connecting, remembering again. And many of you are connecting just in the dream time, in your sleep time, because it's too intense to meet her, to attend to this energy in your daily life.
Okay, my first question is, I do see a rise in the feminine energy on this planet, and I feel that there's been, too much of a dominance of masculine energy in our leaders, some of these superpowers. So, is that true in a sense, or is it just what we needed to experience?
Where I haven't been, I feel the cracks in the skin, the rusted metal of my children's beings, meant to experience. The words were that you said, well, were you meant to experience this? Yes. It was a choice to leave the mother. It was a choice to use the mother, abuse the mother, like an experiment, a social experiment.
And is this a time of the feminine energy becoming more predominant, as we sort of, shift into the next couple of decades and beyond?
Yes, there is a shift. You feel her moving inside you. You feel her as the anxiety, depression, despair. The loss is so deep in your body, your soul, of where she has not been, where she is not there. And here she comes rising, rising through the earth, rising like a phoenix through the ashes, rising through your body temples, your blueprints, bringing, restoring balance and harmony again.
And what is your take on, why we come here? Are we a soul? Are we trying to awaken?
Your questions tickle us. Your questions are from the heart, and we appreciate your deep fascination with the world. Thank you. And this life, thank you. You came to grow, you came to know that you are but a seed that can grow tall, strong, flower, bloom, fully from acorn to oak, from oak to forest. You came here to grow. You came to move through storms. You came to evolve through volcanoes, through magma roar. You came to know. You came to remember that you are from far, far away, and that here is a temporary, seasonal, cyclical, spiraling world, one you can inhabit, play with, create, dance, love, make love, celebrate. And somewhere along the way, you forgot. You forgot You come with a map. You come with a seed. We are offering that to you now. Remember now.
Thank you. And we all have that ability, don't we, to go within. We all have that ability to find our answers within, but we've stopped listening to that inner voice, haven't we?
Tulukuyama Siya Nakayama. You all come with your own GPS. GPS. You all come with your own navigation system designed for you to welcome your soul in and down and through and into the world.
Thank you for that. And just sticking with the intuition side, some of us do listen, but not all the time. And it's such, I've just got to emphasize, it's such an important gift that we've got this, that if we just embraced it and trusted it more or all the time, it would never let us down.
Yes. You would hear your guidance back, uniquely yours, no one else's ever. Your unique soul, your unique pathway, your unique purpose, dream seed in this life on this earth is supported.
Interesting. And do you think, though, that no matter what we've done in life, no matter how unproud of it we may be, that nothing's wasted? It's growth. That's the way we've got to look at it. It's what we came here for.
When your heartbeats are unified in one pulse, you will be free. And for now, your hearts are rattling, anxious, in cages of their own making, of your ancestors' own making. You are here to be free. You are here to find your freedom, your voice, your song, your words, anything. And you are not from one species. You look like one species to you, arms, legs, heads. You are each so individual, so unique, that to not listen to the guidance that is being gifted to you, showered in golden light through you, around you, to ignore, to reject this guidance is leading to the planetary suicide and the silence of the dream seeds.
So then, if we know that something's not good for us, something's, making us unhappy in our life, or it's not for our best, why do we keep it going for?
There are experiences that you have come to compost and mulch, and there are experiences you have come to flower and grow. Sometimes you are not listening to what needs to end, what needs to stop, what needs to slow, and you are creating non-stop in a kind of frenetic madness. And we would welcome you to slow down, slow everything down, and let the guidance create through you, with you.
And oh, I'm so sorry I interrupted you there. I just want to say as well, I guess some of that which is causing that is fear.
The humans have a funny time with addiction. They addict, they copy patterns and stick to the same pattern like a fly to a swat, and somehow they keep going towards the swat. They are guided to grow, they are guided to change, but your culture disallowed the deep listening state. In the deep listening state, you grow, you release, You sow new seeds and you welcome them.
Yeah. And do you think that the biggest story sometimes is that there's so much more that we're not supposed to know?
Fear, the fear on this planet, the ultimate fear, the depth of your fear is that you think you are nowhere. You think you are nothing. You think you have no meaning, purpose. You think you are not connected to anything. You think your head is true and right. And there is a much bigger story here.
So no matter, what we've done to another or done to ourselves, because we can do that as well, do you think that the only person that judges ourselves when we cross back over is ourselves?
So much more, so much more, so much more. You are so right. Thank you for your inquisitive nature in this world. It is so bright. Yes, you are so much more, and you're not quite ready to discover, any of you, the true meaning of that.
So just going back to Phoenix's story then, she's still left behind with the ramifications of what she had to experience. So is there no sort of reflection on, on that?
Neither is true. Nothing is true. We love you as you are in all your ways.
So if I try to sort of summarize that up, then it's about the experience. It's almost like saying that, no matter what we've gone through, we needed that experience because, there was no other way to grow but to go through an experience like that with the free will.
Think of this world, it's like a game board. Little steps, stairways going up and escalators down, and pavements that move like in your flying planes, airports, different paths, different pathways, up, down, and around. They all spiral, they all cycle, they all have meaning to you as a soul. It does not, it does not, it does not mean, it does not mean that a predator has not committed a crime. We just say that there is learning in this for every soul.
It's funny, I do feel like the times that we live in right now are all about discernment. I'm currently working on a documentary that's titled Captain Mark Richards. And, that to me, when it goes out, will be a discernment documentary. And I do feel that, I'm playing my part, in helping people to discern. And that we need to, go within and really feel, does this feel right, what I'm listening to? Is it coming from love?
Yes. And that is the story on this earth. There are other places where these lessons are not the same. Here, there is a duality. There is a black, white. There is a good, bad. And you are learning that neither of these are real. And that is part of the awakening. And that every person that has become a predator has essentially suffered great pain themselves too. The most. Everything will be revealed. Everything that is not pure and true of the heart will be revealed. Some of your most enlightened beings have been the most abusive. Some of your biggest power leaders have been kindest. There are many layers, many layers to the human experience. It is impossible to judge from our perspective.
So what is it then to have a more peaceful experience? Because I don't feel that it's the devoidance of conflict, and I don't feel that it's, you know, the devoidance of growth. So what is it to have a more peaceful experience?
You have 400 years before peace on this planet. 400 years. So worry not that the growth will end. There is so much growth here. But these years, yes, will be the most exciting years. And in 10, 20, 30 years, you'll say, oh, I loved 2020. How I loved those years. The chaos, the change, and the drop into the great mystery.
Well, I will just say, you know, thank you for the energy transfer right now for everyone watching this as well. And I will just say, you know, Goddess Divine Mother, thank you for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you. She's lovely, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. She is. Yeah, she taught us 400 years time. You know, life will look less conflicting than it is already. But that was great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I like that. Yeah, I just love that sense that she was saying. Like, I learn so much when I'm channeling. That's what I mean by conscious channeling. I'm like, oh wow, and then I try and absorb what she's taught me, you know. But yeah, that sense that this is a really exciting time in terms of our alchemy and transformation. And it is hard, really hard.
Yeah, what was said there was just, you know, so helpful for so many people.
General. That was a general channeling. Yeah, so personally, depending on my client's intention, she addresses, you know, health, financial, relationship. You know, she shows us blocks and patterns and things that are invisible, and only the client can have that aha moment, like, oh, how, aha. When you know it's about you, it's like seeing the UFO. It's the same feeling, like, how, what is that? Wow. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure to share them as well. So I just want to say, until next time, thank you for coming on.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. Yeah, 45 nearly, and there's a lot in it. As you know, we've all got, the older we get, the more we accrue. But yeah, thank you for touching on some really special moments in my life, yeah, that relate to this work.